good evening and a very, very warm welcome. Slightly quirky title to begin our new series, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Gita.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. So I think that people have to be in our age group to really know the culture of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. That means rather on the old side. So what I'm going to do is just read a brief summary of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. It was originally a radio play, and then was made into a novel, and the author is Douglas Adams. And it's really all about the absurdity of life, the universe, and everything. And it's very humorous, and it actually shows British humor, I think, in quite a good way. Every country has their own variety of humor, which is specific to that culture. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe is very much very British. But okay, let me read this for you so that you get a little bit of the background. And there are a lot of interesting connections. So the hero is Arthur Dent, who had a bad day, and he's an ordinary Englishman who woke up in the morning to find that his house is about to be demolished to make way for a bypass. That happens in England quite a bit. But before he can worry about that too much, his friend Ford Prefect, which is a kind of car that was around in the 1960s, who, unbeknownst to Arthur, is actually an alien. And he tells him that the Earth itself is about to be destroyed to make way for a hyperspace bypass. So connections between the, the small scale and the big scale. So the end of the world. Moments later, a bureaucratic alien race called the Vogons demolish Earth. Arthur survives only because Ford drags him onto a Vogon spaceship using his knowledge from a book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, an electronic book full of bizarre but often useless advice. And the most famous advice is "Don't panic." So that became a slogan subsequently. Adventures in space. After being ejected from the Vogon ship, they are rescued by the Heart of Gold, a spaceship powered by the infinite improbability drive. On board are three people: Zaphod Beeblebrox, a two-headed eccentric ex-president of the galaxy; Trillian, the only other human survivor from Earth; and Marvin, the paranoid android, a hilariously depressed robot. Quest for the ultimate question. The crew drifts through a series of misadventures that parody science, philosophy, and bureaucracy. They learn that Earth was actually a giant computer designed to discover the ultimate question to life, the universe, and everything, because the answer itself is already known. The answer is 42. Unfortunately, Earth was destroyed before the question could be revealed. And there's a cliffhanger ending. The book ends with the characters escaping danger, but still left wandering through the absurdity of the universe, setting the stage for sequels. And overall, it's about a satirical exploration of life and meaning and the ridiculousness of existence. And then there are the mice. So the mice are part of the story. They are not what they seem. On Earth, humans thought they were experimenting on mice in labs, but in reality, it was the other way around. The mice were experimenting on the humans. hyper-intelligent beings. The mice are actually hyper-dimensional beings who created Earth as part of a massive computer program designed to discover the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. And the program's final output was supposed to complement the answer, which is famously 42. So the purpose of the Earth itself was a computer designed after deep thought. The previous supercomputer said it could only give the answer, not the question. So the mice ran experiments on humans to help refine the program because human behavior was part of the calculation. And the problem is that just before the program was about to finish, after millions of years of running, Earth was destroyed by the Vogons and the ultimate question was lost. So after the Earth's destruction, the mice decided they don't really need the question, and they considered making up something plausible that could be packaged and sold. A very satirical jab at how meaning is often manufactured. So the mice are the true masterminds behind the Earth, not just dumb lab animals, but multi-dimensional intellects running a grand experiment. So this is this is what the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe was all about. Now, Chris said to me, "This is your title." So I said, "Ooh, okay, let me see a little bit about what this story is." And what I found especially interesting is that the answer is 42. And it just happens that 42 is a very significant number in one of the details of the study of Raj Yoga. So we're talking to you about, Raj Yoga and how good it is and why it's a good thing to study it and practice it, because there are all sorts of benefits. And of course, one of the benefits is to understand the questions to which the answer is 42. So let me tell you about some of those questions, which might well be connected to this quest to understand life, the universe, and everything, and to grasp whether it's absurd or not absurd, because it seems to be absurd. In France, where I'm living, we have Jean-Paul Sartre, one of the philosophers from the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s, who gave us the theater of the absurd. And there are wonderful plays that he has made to describe this, in particular one called De Huis Clos, in which everybody was dead trying to figure out what to do next. And so it is an issue for people of all cultures to make sense of life. And in Raj Yoga, of which the Gita is central, the Gita itself is also called the Bhagavad Gita. And it is within a great legend, a great epic or saga, which is called the Mahabharata. And there are two great epics and sagas in India. The Mahabharata is one, and the other one is the Ramayana. And although the Gita is contained within the Mahabharata, it talks about the Ramayana, which means, to me at least, who is endlessly studying these things and trying to grasp all the nuances and so on, it means that the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are going along simultaneously. And in the study and practice of Raj Yoga, we are studying and practicing to change. And so we need to understand about change. And I was listening to Yuval Harari earlier on, and he said, "I'm a historian, and history is the study of change. So I thought that is really a very interesting statement. So it stuck with me. And the stories, the myths that are part of every culture contain keys, I think, keys that we can use to grasp the sense of what is going on. Because when a person tries to understand life from every angle, as some of us do, many people arrive at the conclusion that it doesn't make any sense. And even if you look at the news media at the moment, whether you're looking at mainstream news or alternative news or, you know, the news that gets heavily censored from here and there, you will find that what's going on doesn't make any sense. Whether you are looking at propaganda or whether you're looking at what claims to be the reality that's not spoken about in the mainstream news, for example, either way, it doesn't make sense. And so here we are, the human race, living in a world which seems to not make sense. And so there are a lot of people who are on different levels of quest. You want a quest to find out the truth, whatever that is. And you want to find out, well, who am I anyway? And what am I doing here? How did I get here? Where did I come from? Where am I going? These are the imponderables that you ponder upon all the time. The unanswerable questions that everybody gives an answer for, but which is not satisfactory. And so in Raj Yoga, we're studying what is called the original knowledge of the Gita. And the Gita is most ancient. And in the 5th century, during the time of Adi Shankaracharya, all the Indian scriptures were reviewed by this founder of the sannyas religion in India, and he came through with the idea of the Vedas, and then the Vedas talk about how there is this huge energy, and that energy is God, and that energy is matter, and that energy is everything, and everything is that, and that is everything. So this was one of the very powerful answers to the question, what is life, the universe, and everything? And so it became the Vedic culture of India, which is still very, very powerfully influential. And it's especially influential in the scientific community because it corresponds in a very wonderful way with quantum physics and beyond. But it doesn't look at things in terms of myth, whereas there are a lot of cultures in this world which look at everything in terms of myth. Now, recently I was in Finland, and there I discovered the saga called the Kalevala, which is a very ancient saga, and it's fundamentally common sense. And I think common sense plays a really important role in spirituality. Because in some ways, spirituality is very, very subtle. Spirituality talks about the soul, and nobody's ever seen a soul. We've heard the soul is eternal and immortal, and it is, but what is it? Where is it? What's it made of? How do you know? Why is there this story? Who came up with it? You know, we want to know. And then, is there a God? If so, where? Is it a he, she, or an it? Is it an energy? Is it an old man in the sky? What is it? And you have the theocratic religions, God-centered religions, which are the religions of the Abrahamic world, which includes Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and Hinduism as well. Is interesting because it is both God-centered and non-God-centered at the same time, which is a very, very interesting phenomenon about India, that it's able to include things which are absolutely mutually exclusive. But the wonder of India is it deals very much in paradox. And spirituality, according to my understanding, is all about paradox, and we need to be comfortable with paradox. We need to be able to work with paradox in order to be able to grasp that things are not just black and white, they're not just either or, they're both and. And then there is Buddhism, which is non-theistic religion, and which talks a lot about the philosophy of karma. And it also is emerged from India. And I think essentially India is the foundation of all the religions. And you will find if you compare the main scriptures of all the religions, you see this common element underlying them all, which corresponds to the roots of spirituality and philosophy in India. And India is known to be the most ancient culture, and it is a mythic culture. And I am a person who goes for the mythic approach to life, the universe, and everything, because it involves symbolism, it involves the greatness and the degeneracy of the human spirit, the whole spectrum from absolute good to absolute evil. And it includes all of this, and it doesn't necessarily put one in opposition to the other so that you have to choose which is which. It talks about the importance of the shadow. You see, if there is light and something comes in front of that light, then behind that something you have shadow. And so if you say God is light, which many people do, and it is actually true, the spirit is light, a point of light, and you come in front of that point of light, it reveals your shadow. And so in order for you to grasp who you are, you must also grasp your bright side and your shadow side. Now, the number 42 comes into this, because if you know anything about ancient symbolism in India, one of the very universal symbols, which after the Second World War became very reviled, but not because of what it means. This is the symbol of the swastika. And the swastika talks about the light and the dark, the bright side of you and the shadow side of you. And 42 is the number of how many bright births you have and how many shadow births you have. And the totality is a maximum of 84. And in India, they know there's a cycle of 84, but they don't know 84 what. So half of 84 is 42. Now that to me is very interesting, because part of what the Gita says is you are a spiritual being and you get born in a human body and you grow up and you become mature and you become a hero or a villain, and then you die, and then you get born again. So it talks a lot about the soul reincarnating, birth after birth after birth. And then the question arises, are you evolving or devolving? And if you look at most approaches to this, you find in most of the religions there is the idea of evolution, which is also very much there in the scientific approach to human development and the development of cultures. And we always talk about evolving. But then you have people who look a little closely and they say, well, it appears to us as though we're going backwards because maybe technologically we're evolving, but in terms of human relationships, quality of life, um, spiritual qualities, ethics, morality, these kinds of things, we're not seeming to evolve. And so there is a paradox here. And it seems absurd to espouse the idea that we're evolving in spite of evidence to the contrary. And then you have to deal with these paradoxes. And I think this is what in a way, what you could say is the usefulness of the idea of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Gita, because the Gita is a book which is full of contradictions. It's written, the Gita that you can get these days is in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit in India is rather like Latin is in the Western world. So during the time of the beginnings of the Roman Church, the Bible was in Latin. Otherwise, previously it was in Aramaic, which is the language that Jesus spoke, as far as I know. And then it was put into Greek because there was, of course, the Greek church. Then we had the Russian church. And then everything got translated into English and other languages as Christianity spread throughout the world. The Bible is translated into different languages, and there are many different subsets of Christianity, and each one has their own angle on it. And so you have a big variety of creeds. But the number of different elements of a particular religion is Buddhism that has the largest number of sects and cults and isms and so on, more than any other religion. So it's very, very complicated. And I think the same applies in all the religions. They maybe began as one thing, but gradually they splintered off into different sections, and the analogy or metaphor for this is a tree. And you start off with the seed, you have the trunk, then you have the branches, sub-branches, and leaves. And this is what we have. So you've got so many different approaches to this. But going back to the number 42, it is the answer to many things which are present in the material that we study in Raj Yoga in Brahma Kumaris. Of course, when you come to Brahma Kumaris, first of all, you will be offered to study what we call the introduction course, which gives you an overview. And part of that is the idea of being a soul which reincarnates indefinitely, cycle after cycle after cycle. And then you say, but what's the point, you see? And so this is really an interesting thing, that the point is you. You are a point of light, and contained within you is 42 light experiences, 42 dark experiences. 42 lives as a male, 42 lives as a female. So what are you? You see, it says if you consider that your identity is what you appear to be when you look in the mirror or take a photograph and you say, that's me, it will say, well, no, that's your shell. Yeah, that's the body that you have incarnated into. It is an object. And you, the soul, give life to it. And the soul has bright and dark. And as you know, any normal person has good days and bad days, pleasant time and unpleasant time. For some people, the amount of unpleasant seems to be a lot more than the amount of pleasant. Maybe that's disproportionate, maybe it's not equally balanced. But in terms of the whole cycle, the time cycle that we talk about, it's half and half. So 42 one side, 42 the other side, 42 up, 42 down. It's a very interesting thing. To me, when presented with the number 42, when I know so much about the details of the study of Raj Yoga, which talks about all of these aspects of reincarnation, of karma, of the role of the Supreme Being, the role of the soul, what this is all about. And really, ultimately, you want to, or you brought face to face with keys which help you to understand how to think about yourself as a being who is eternal. And to me, that's really, really interesting because, you know, if you want to know where you came from and you want to know where you're going, it presupposes a kind of line with a beginning and an end. And yet, according to a lot of surveys and studies that have been going on, the human beings, what they desire most of all is immortality. And so, for example, Walt Disney, he expressed this by, when he died, he gave instructions that his body should be preserved forever because he wanted to be immortal. But of course, the body is an object. It's not who you are. And when you start studying spirituality, you're hearing this all the time. You are not your body. You are yourself. And will the real self please stand up, you say, because there's so many different identities in there. And one interesting aspect of the study of Raj Yoga is it brings us in front of the idea that we are actors and we play many roles, and we can play all sorts of different kinds of characters. So there's a lot of, you say, lots of different people inside us. It's not different people, but it's different facets of the diamond that we are. And we can project ourselves through these different characters. And really what the swastika is talking about is knowledge of the self. A knowledge of the self in terms of 42 bright expressions, 42 dark expressions, and it's a spectrum all the way from really bright to really dark. So you have this inside you, and you have so many different manifestations of yourself that you can't really select any particular one as being the real me, because the real me is all of them together. But then you say, no, this is not satisfactory. I want to know the real me. And for that, I think we can look at what is the essence of yourself. So there's a few different ways to think about the essence of yourself. So for me, one of the ways I use is that every soul has a different resonance, like a tone. And they talk about celestial music or music of the spheres. And this is a mythological idea. But actually, if you think that every living being has their own note, their own sound, which is unique to them. And I like this idea because, it's non-physical, it's a resonance. And you can have a note which is in tune. If you have like a string instrument and you play that instrument, you have to tune it first, otherwise you can't play properly. It doesn't sound good. But as you play that string on that instrument, gradually the string gets looser and the sound becomes flat. And so you have to tune it up again. And I think quite a good analogy for the soul who passes through life and gradually loses energy. And then the tone or the sound of the soul goes flat. And so Raj Yoga is very much a practice that you do in your mind to connect yourself to the source, you see. So there is a source, a supreme soul, who is unchanging, immutable, doesn't reincarnate, is not a human, but knows everything and knows who's who and what's what, and has the power and has all the keys. And so Raj Yoga is to study to be able to connect with the source and to tune so that you draw energy into yourself, which causes the soul to get restored to its original sound, its original harmony. And there's also an expression, the harmony of the spheres. So if you imagine all these spheres are beings, and when they're in tune, when they're in their high energy, then they're in harmony with each other and with themselves. And as time goes by, you reincarnate, you lose energy from harmony, the world becomes disharmonious, which means it's not an evolving world, but a devolving world. And then because it's eternal and forever, there has to be a time when everything gets restored to its original state. And so the idea is this is that time. So we need to look at the whole story, look at the myth, look at the mathematics of it, and put ourselves in that context, and also begin the practice and sustain the practice of drawing energy into the self to become or to revert or return to our original state, which is called the perfect state, the harmonious state, the ideal state. And each and every one has their own individual perfect state, their own individual expression of all the different aspects or the different facets of their diamond, all the way from absolutely bright to absolutely dark and back again to absolutely bright very quickly. And these are questions whose answer is 42. And because the hitchhiker has to have a guide, we need to have information. We need to have a GPS to find our way to the source. We need to have a guidebook to help us on our way because we are on a kind of pilgrimage returning to our essential self. And so the Bhagavad Gita is filled with incredible statements that are very memorable, very powerful instructions. But when you put all the Gita together with all the 18 chapters, all the 700 verses that it has, and you look at it all as one thing, it's impossible. It's incomprehensible. It's so full of contradictions. It doesn't make any sense. But yet, it's itself is a key to realize that, yes, when you look at life, the universe, and everything from the angle that we normally look at it from, it is clearly absurd and clearly ridiculous. And it's either really funny or really tragic, or you flip-flop between the two. And people try to find answers and give up or go crazy or something. But yet, the Gita, when you study it the way that we do, with the information that we receive, which is full of keys, and you learn how to use it. A little bit like, the Golden Compass. You might have come across this series of kind of science fiction, spiritual literature called His Dark Materials, and the movie is called The Golden Compass, where there's this a compass and you look at it and you have to have good intuitive powers to read what it says. And so there's something about the human capability to grasp very subtle, very paradoxical things that are not, black and white, physical, material, as we know through the scientific approach, but this is more like the mythic, some people will call it fantasy, but it's a metaphysical, metaphorical, mythical, and if you approach things in that way, you get very good results, according to me, and that's how I go with it. But anyway, I will finish there, and what I'd like to do is invite you to stop for a moment for a few minutes of meditation on all of this. And so, of course, meditation means slow down, first of all, slow down and become concentrated within. And turn your attention within. And that means you are letting go of all the external considerations and thinking of yourself as this essence, the essence of your being, this point of light, who has so many facets, but in the end, it comes down to just the essential point of being. You are light. You are the energy of life that animates this body, the soul. You have within your being everything that is your identity, all facets. Your essence is pure, beautiful. When all is said and done, and you let go of all the details, and you can just be the essence of peace. Letting go is very important. It is what it is, absurd or not, it's okay. My essence is I am perfect, extraordinary peace, stillness, quietness, just being with myself. Not this body, not this role. Let yourself move gently away from all that to just be an extraordinary, endless, eternal being full of potential. The light and the dark are both there, and it's fine. The pure and the impure are both there, and it's fine. The young and the old are both there, and it's fine. You are the essence of being. Beautiful, loving, at peace, extraordinary. It is a great wonder to contemplate the self in its essence. Om Shanti.
Well, wow, that's what I'm going to say. I kept up with you. Well, thank you so much. I kind of feel as if I've learned a lot. I mean, learned a lot about what I know already, but somehow could approach it. So I'm just going to pick up that beautiful meditation you've just done. So you've talked about, the 42, the light and the dark, and the pure and the impure. And I really like that, the way you've talked about that, because we spend so much time trying to ignore that or not accept it. It's in the acceptance of that. What would you say, if you can just accept that, what does it bring you? Accept this thing of the 42 and the 42, the 42, the light and the dark, that they both belong.
It makes you completely free from shame and guilt and all that problem that people have. I am what I am. I am light and I am dark. I am good and I am bad. I am up and I am down. I am young and I am old. And if you don't like it, it doesn't make any difference. It frees you from judging yourself, being judged by other people. This is me. This is what I am. Take it or leave it. You're in your power, you see. This is nice.
Yes. I think that last thing you said, you're in your power. And I was thinking, when you were leading us with that meditation, it felt like, because we're caught up in the drama, as long as the soul's in the body, aren't we? We are in the drama, but we want to step outside it. Well, sometimes people commit suicide in order to step outside it, but of course they don't. It doesn't work. No, no, it doesn't work. But in that experience of meditation, in the experience of meditation, can you, if you like, do you see what I'm trying to say? Step outside.
Absolutely, because what you're stepping outside is the human projection onto you that you have to be perfect and you're not allowed to be bad, but you are essentially bad, and so that gives us the right to punish you. That's completely absurd. But if you step out of that, knowing that, you know what, this is what a being is, and I'm a being, and you're a being too, but you forgot. And you created this imaginary problem, but actually you are light and you are dark, you are powerful and you become weak and then you become powerful again, and it's a rhythm. And the image that I use for this is a treble clef, and again music. So the treble clef is round and up and down, and that's the music. There's high notes and low notes, and that's called song. And the Gita means the song divine.
Yeah. Round and up and down. Yeah. Yeah. and just connected with that question I was saying about stepping outside and this link, is that where the power lies, pure power lies as well, in that experience of being peace?
Well, because you have claimed your freedom and you don't allow anyone or anything to take it away from you because actually they can't unless you let them. But if you don't let them, then you have it.
Yes. And you can only do that really by knowing the answer to the question, who am I? Isn't it?
This is why I
It's
found this
also
too
experiencing,
so
not just
great.
knowing.
Yeah,
Sorry?
yeah. I am, that's it. I am, full stop. That's it. I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are. And we don't have to say what we are. We exist, and we are wonderful.
Yeah.
I've had some experiences in meditation where you just get it, and you understand I am enough. This is it. This is me. And it is the most extraordinary thing. And all this stuff is just, what do they, Shakespeare said, sound and fury signifying nothing.
A really sound and fury signifying nothing.
And I
Yeah.
can't remember the exact quote, but
No.
yeah.
Yeah. I am enough. You see, most human beings deeply are convinced that they are not enough, don't they? This is where we are at the moment. Not enough.
Well, that's because we hear that message because
Yeah.
it's a world of making people feel insufficient, so they buy your product. It's
Yeah. Yes,
all
that's
about
right.
that.
Whatever that product is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Not enough. Yeah, but it's a very deep thing of feeling enough, isn't it?
The children are told you're not good enough, you're not clever enough, you're not fast enough, beautiful enough, tall enough, short enough, thin enough, whatever it is. There's always this word enough, which makes people feel less than. And
Yeah,
it's in the culture. And this is really a practice that takes us out of that culture into a different culture, which
yeah,
is the culture of I am me and I'm okay and I love God and God loves me and that's good enough.
yeah, yeah. Yes, because it reminds me of something you said once about this thing of sin and charity, but I won't go into that. But it's
Mm.
it's loss, less than loss, isn't it? That's so present. Yeah. Mm.
So we buy into these stories, you see, and they're stories, and this is another story. It's a better story as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Now that's right. I love stories, but it's yeah, it's the better story that we need, isn't it? The much better
Just the
self-fulfilling
thing of
story.
this myth, you see, the sagas, this I enjoyed this Kalevala because it's all about this guy who's just a guy and he does amazing things and he encounters all kinds of people who do really stupid things and he carries on being based in common sense and he arrives at the end of the story and that's great.
Ah, yeah. The much belittled and much underused common sense.
Yeah, but it's the best.
Can you just say a bit more about because it's something you talk about, and I'm always fascinated about this thing about paradox. And you
Yeah.
talked about evolving and devolving, and then the connection with 42. Yeah, the thing of things that contradict each other, which is most of the things in the world in the major religions as well.
Yeah, because people think in black and white, and mostly people think, according to me, faulty logic.
Yeah,
Absolutely faulty
logic.
logic. And I'm constantly going on and on about it to people who make me nuts with their faulty logic, and in which they conclude that they should definitely punish themselves and die as quickly as possible. That is not logical. And no, paradox, the best example for people, I think, is this idea of you have free will and everything is destined. And this is the one that we talk about a lot in Brahma Kumaris.
Yes.
And in my writings today, I was talking about, look, you have free will but you only have 1 second in which to exercise it. And so you have a situation, you have a window of opportunity which opens up for 1 second, and you better be fast. So in Raj Yoga we hear about what's the word, intense effort,
Yeah.
right? And then I look at the original language, which is tivara gati, tivara purusharati, and it doesn't mean intense effort at all. It means high speed. You got to be fast because that window of opportunity is open only for 1 second, and that's really short. So you better be quick so that you can apply your freedom to any situation, because once that window's closed, you just have to accept whatever are the circumstances that you failed to do anything about.
Can you say a bit more about that?
Oh, well, that means we need to be so present for the present moment, and we need to be dispassionate. You see, our problem is we get emotional because our emotions get triggered by sense perception. This is all the study of the Gita is all about that your passions, your emotions are what we call the five vices. These are emotions that carry away your focus of attention, like a boat is carried away by a storm on the sea, you see. So you have all these storms, which we call storms of Maya or whatever, but you have to be dispassionate. So there may be storms, but if it doesn't carry you away, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because there will be, you have to practice this. There are many, many things to press your buttons, but you have to neutralize your buttons so that it becomes completely, you are not affected by these things that are designed to affect you, because you are susceptible to these triggers. And so your whole practice is to get enough personal power and enough clarity that these things do not strike you and get to you in that 1 second, because in that 1 second before they get to you, you've taken them out. And when people play Wimbledon tennis, nowadays they show the speed of the ball, which can be like 300 miles an hour or something. This is the kind of speed you need to have, because you've got to respond to the ball. Sometimes it is said a ball is sent to you, you've got to respond to it, you've got to hit it back. And it's coming fast, so you better be with it, and you better not be distracted. If you get distracted by some emotion or whatever, you will miss your chance. And that means it'll be counted as out, and you lose a point, you see. It's a game.
Yeah.
You have to be skilled. You have to be fast. You have to pay attention and take it seriously. But then it's also a game, so you enjoy.
Unless the ball smacks you in the face.
Even if it does,
If it does.
pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back into the game.
Get back into the game.
Yes. Do not give up. Don't panic, as it says in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And if you lose a point, you win one, you lose one, so what? That's how it is. The game is like that. You've got to be a good loser.
Okay. So that's part of the 1 second bit. You've got to be a good.
Yeah, because if you don't make it, you don't make it. Doesn't mean that's the end of the world.
No.
You get back on again, because after
that's
that 1 second, another one comes.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Mm.
You have to. That's also part of the part of it. Just to accept I lost it. Yeah. But it doesn't mean I've lost the whole game.
No, and don't take it too seriously. If you didn't have humor, forget it.
Yes.
Of course it's absurd. So what? What's wrong with absurd?
Oh, right. This is, I didn't quite get all that, but the thing about, say a bit more about absurd.
People feel more comfortable if they can control the situation, but you cannot control things that are absurd, because they don't make any sense. You don't know how to, but if you are comfortable to be surrounded by absurd things and you enjoy it and you don't care about whether it's absurd or not, you can keep going. You can be fine. But if you need it to make sense in your particular way and you try to control things, forget it, that's not going to work. And you know how control freaks are. They always die of, I don't know what, something tightness.
Yeah, yeah.
And we cannot, I think a lot of people, most of the world experiences a lot of trauma. And when you've experienced trauma, one of the reactions to that is to try to control the circumstances. But you've got to get over your trauma by repairing yourself, which is all part of the spiritual practice. And then do not try and control things, because anyway, if it's absurd, it's
It's
fine.
absurd.
It's
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
it's life.
yeah.
And you're eternal, you're indestructible. You might come through with a few scars, but nobody can prove they're a warrior unless they got scars.
Scars. Yeah, that's true. Denise, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You packed a lot into that hour. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.